Hey everybody, Dr. Perry Bard here, and I can't tell you how excited we are to be able to share with you some amazing content. If you are into personal injury, if you want to know more about personal injury, if you want to build a bigger PI practice, then this is where it's at. My name is Dr. Perry Bard, and it is such an honor, such a privilege, such a pleasure to be able to share this information with you guys. As you know, this is the third time that we've ever done this in terms of PI success. We did one in 2017. We did one in 2019. And at that phase, we were doing them every 2 years. Here we are, 2022, 3 years later. We'll make it worth your time. And so sit back, kick back. I know for so many of you that registered for the PI Success Zoom meeting, which is what we're doing right here, right now, that unfortunately so many of you did not get the opportunity to be able to log in. Unfortunately, it closed out at 100 people. If you were on it, you saw we opened. In other words, we tapped out at 100 really, really fast. We had hundreds of doctors that registered for this. So what we did was we wanted to create a private training for you, and it is all the same material. We're just going to jump right into it. And so kick back and definitely take some notes, and let's make sure that the technology is working now. Fingers crossed. Hopefully it'll be great. I have a feeling it will be this time. You ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom. All right. Yeah. How about it now? All right. See, it's the little things that get us excited. So here we are live, if you will, or recorded, if you will. So a couple of obvious little Zoom webinar, little rules. There really are no rules, but I want you to get the most from this. So to be able to get the most from this, what you need to do, what is so important to do is, number one, shut off your phone, lock the door, turn off some of the other computer stuff going on in the background. Dedicate yourself to this information, because you will see that we're going to share stuff with you you haven't seen before. We got some cool bonuses going on here. Yeah, really cool. Never been done before. Crazy good. So we're going to jump into it. So I'm going to tell you to minimize or eliminate your distractions. This is not a fluff. This is not a fluff webinar or Zoom meeting or whatever you want to call it. We're going to show you things that you could plug and play. We're going to give you content. We're going to give you ideas. We're going to give you notes. So take notes, build up your PI practice, make it awesome. Be the PI doctor you always wanted to be. And I promise you that if you do it right, and you will, you do it better, and you will, then this will be time that we shared together that was very valuable, obviously. Last but not least, obviously, I want you to pay very, very close attention. I'm going to move this around a little bit. How's that? All right. Yeah. How's that? Ooh, high tech now. So pay very close attention to the language that we use. It is the language of personal injury. And yes, PI has its own language. It really, really does. So I'm going to move that around a little bit. So hopefully it's not in the way of some things, but I think it'll be pretty good. So I got to share a secret with you. This was a crazy thing that happened, in the sense that you're never going to believe this, but I got to tell you that. So when we did this, in other words, obviously if we're doing one every 3 years, then obviously there's a tremendous demand for what Dr. Kaplan and myself do. All our events sell out. If you've been to our events, you know what I'm talking about. There's wait lists. It's standing room only. It's just the nature of what we teach. It's not that we're anything special. Well, maybe just a little bit. So when we did this and we announced it, we said, this is the first PI webinar that we're doing in 3 years, Zoom meeting. We thought like 100 people would register, because I don't know if you know this. I don't know if you can look at the screen and see there's an arrow and stuff going on there. But the fact is that Zoom caps you at 100 participants. Well, little did we know we'd have over 500 people that wanted this information. So because of the people that, in other words, were closed out, we wanted to make this special for you. So you're going to see everything that we did the first time, maybe a little bit more. So I hope you dig it. I think you will. So the question that we often get is, and I get this question like every week, is who the heck are you? Who's that other guy? Oh, you look familiar. I think I've seen you around before. You know what I'm talking about. Who's concierge coaches? Well, that's the question I'd be asking. In other words, if I'm sitting on the end of the Zoom meeting watching this, I'm saying, wait a minute, who is this guy and what puts him in a position to teach me about PI? I don't know. You could decide yourself. I'll give you a little background real quick, and then you could decide if we know what we're talking about. It's that simple. See, there's no pretense here. The thing that the doctors love and dig is the simple fact that we're 100% transparent, 100% authentic. This is the real deal. There's no fluff. What you see is what you get. And if you dig it, and I think you will, as do everybody else as part of our family, can you believe the amount of Dissenters of America doctors that are on this thing? When we did it, oh my gosh, it exploded. So it's going to be that many more watching this now. I'll tell you who we are. It's really simple. My name's Dr. Perry Bard. And on behalf of my illustrious partner, Dr. Eric Kaplan, we are doctor specific, specialty specific. Yeah, you got to move it around a little bit. Demographic specific coaching program that utilize progressive systems and technology to move chiropractors to the front of the line, baby, where you deserve to be. Yeah, absolutely. But you got to earn it. You got to pay the price. You got to do a little heavy lifting. We're going to talk about that here. In the billion-dollar healthcare industry, in other words, this is not small potatoes. If you're in the PI business, then you understand really simple that it could be potentially lucrative. That's not the only reason to do it. It should never be the only reason to do it. But obviously, it's nice to get healthy checks. But what if I told you there's even a better way to do it? Well, that's what we're going to share on this. That's why we're glad we're hanging out here together tonight or today or whenever you're watching this. So if you want to learn more, just go to the website, www.conciergecoaches website. How many people dug that little email that we sent out? And we did like 5 little secrets that, not really secrets, but in other words, you know that I was Dr. Kaplan's associate doctor 35 years ago. Oh my God, 35 years ago. And what else did I share? I shared that he was the former president of Nutrisystem. Wow, not a bad accomplishment for a chiropractor, right? Pretty cool, right? The president. Yeah, that Nutrisystem. Let me see, number 3, what was the other thing that we shared? We shared also that we owned 11 clinics between all of us. Let me see, what else did we share? Oh yeah, we shared that both of our sons are in this business. Yeah, one rocking it, killing it. The other one rocking it, killing it. He's still in school though. He's got a little bit of time left. But it's so exciting to pass it on. And the last thing we shared was my favorite show. And my favorite show, believe it or not, is Young Sheldon. You didn't know I was a nerd. See, if you can do this, that means to live long. And if you can do it with 2 hands, you're a real nerd. You live long and prosper. And it's weighing my hand down because that's the Dissenters of America ring. That's kind of cool, right? You could show that on the Zoom meeting. And we're going to give away a bunch of those this year. Yeah, you guys, you know what I'm talking about. You watch it. We were so honored to give it away on the stage at the national certification. So let's dive back in. All right. So if we're known for anything, we're known as the creators of the largest #1 non-surgical brand in the world for spinal disc. It's known as Dissenters of America. Would you believe there's 191 centers right now that are Dissenters of America doctors, clinics, rocking and rolling at the top of their game? Not a franchise, it's a gift. In other words, it's something we give to our coaching clients, Dr. Kaplan and myself. So there'll be plenty of time to learn more about that, but let's dive into the PI world and talk more about that. So let's talk about the simple fact that this is about facts, right? You want science, you want facts. Not subjective. If I'm on the other end of it, give me the facts. Show me why PI, when done the right way, is so cool in terms of being a chiropractor. We're going to show that to you here. So a personal injury practice is the last true vestige of an insurance patient, meaning really simple. I don't know if you're like me, but when I started, I was getting everything. Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna, Connecticut General, United, Anthem, you name it. And then slowly but surely, can you hear that sound? That's a really bad sound effect of insurance dissipating. High deductibles, cost containment, capitation. Bottom line is that as the benefits went down, often, fact, the stress level of the doctors went up. Isn't that amazing? Well, what if I told you that there's a way to be able to reposition this whole thing? In other words, to do this so much bigger, so much better, so much more than you're doing. But the reality is in your practice right now, that probably some of the bigger checks that you're receiving are personal injury checks. So it's just the nature of the beast, but things change. Yes, in the insurance world, state laws change and benefits change. And you got to be on top of that stuff. So there's a way to be on top of it. Let's talk more about it in the simple fact that personal injury is a specialty. Now, why is it a specialty? Well, it's a specialty for a few reasons, and I'll tell you why. Number one, it's unlike any other type of patient based upon three things, okay? So if you want to start taking notes, this is kind of a good time to do it right now. Number one, that the degree of trauma is often much worse than most patients walking through your door, meaning you're talking about patients, number one, that have been involved in a possible windshield destruction, a obviously airbag explosion, a multiple car, often collision, fractures, lacerations, open fractures, organ and tissue damage. Yes, this is the big leagues of being a chiropractor if you are in specifically the disc business. Now, as chiropractors, where is our focus? Well, our focus should always start with the disc, especially in the simple fact that a disc case, whether it's a herniated disc, protruding disc, prolapse disc, sequestered disc, is the worst case scenario for you. In other words, that's the highest level patient you'll see. So does it not make sense, doctor? Question to you, does it not make sense to be a disc specialist? Does that make sense? If that makes sense, do this. See, look, I can even do it with you at the same time. See, look at that. How do you like that? Not too shabby. Number two, motivation. And at the end of the day, let's call a spade a spade. Let's call the facts for what they are. That often the patient is actually motivated, not always by just getting better. What are they motivated by? Universal sign. I think you can see it back there. That was a gift, by the way. Universal sign. They're motivated by the dollar. And sometimes that affects the relationship between the doctor and the patient, or the attorney and the doctor, or the attorney and the patient. So that needs to be addressed, and it needs to be positioned the right way by the doctor. Number three, compliance. Obviously, as a PI specialist, that there is a level of documentation that must be the ultimate. In other words, you must cross the T's, you must dot the I's. And I will tell you this emphatically, doctor, that if your first visit looks like your third visit, and your third visit looks like your 10th visit, and your 10th visit looks like your 20th visit, well, guess what? That's a problem. That's a problem. So the goal here is to randomize it, use more diagnostics, treat the patient on a day-to-day basis, do not cookie cut this, and raise your game in terms of documentation and more. We'll show you how to do that here. Yeah, that's right. So let's make sure. There we go. So let's just for fun, I want to show you something kind of fun, because I want to show you something here really, really quick. And that is this. I want to show you that just strictly coincidental. This is just 100%. How's that? So I can talk to you in the middle now. How's that? Yeah, I'm moving around. I don't want to be in this. You know, it's not static. It's not static essentials. It's dynamic essentials. You get it? Chiropractic is dynamic, baby. See, if every day looks the same, it's no fun. If you're not growing, then guess what? Then what happens when the fruit gets ripe? You know what happens. So you always want to learn more. How do you learn more? Well, guess what? On Sunday, I learned more. You might say, well, gee, what happened on Sunday? On Sunday, if you notice the date there, check the date out right there. So I want you, just for fun, you want to watch a cool video. I'm going to tell you what you need to do. If you want to watch a cool video, I want you to go to CBS. And on this past Sunday, they showed a little video. It's only about 7 minutes of how in 1977, the world of personal injury changed. And the way that it changed is that in 1977, lawyers were able to start to advertise. Wow, game changer for them. And yes, game changer for you. Why? Because of the simple fact that prior to 1977, if they advertised, they would be brought up by the bar. They would potentially lose their license. So there was a tremendous amount of scrutiny in terms of how to be able to get a new client, new trauma victim, new patient, per se. In 1977, that all changed. And as I mentioned, the way it changed is they now, Supreme Court ruling, this is big time, Supreme Court ruling that now attorneys were able to advertise. So as their ability to spend money went up, then their ability to be able to capture the trauma victim first. Now that's a big deal. And you might say, well, gee, why is it a big deal? Because I promise you, there are chiropractors that are on this webinar right now or the Zoom meeting, whatever you want to call it, that practiced in the 1970s, practiced in the 1980s, yay, practiced in the 1990s, yay, practiced and beyond, yay. What if I told you that when I first started a PI practice, when I first started that patients, my practice, my first one. Yeah, I was an associate doctor for 3 years. Yeah, I wasn't letting Dr. Kaplan out of my life. Here we are, 35 years later, baby. It's still rocking and rolling. Bigger, better, more fun than we've ever had. But yes, eventually you got to take that little bird, and then the bird, eventually, if you feed it the right way, he becomes an eagle and he soars off. When I first started, I went into my own practice in 1990, first time. Believe it or not, patients would call me first, meaning they were involved in an automobile accident. They would call not just me, they would call the doctor first. Well, that changed. And it changed in the simple fact that once the playing field opened up, meaning yellow page ads, double trucks, full color, banner ads, Post-it notes, billboards, buses, bus benches, whoa, full page stuff, big time, massive TV commercials, one right after the other, after the other, after the other. This is kind of interesting. I don't know if you've ever seen this bus, 1-800-411-PAIN. They're not just in Florida. They started as a medical referral group. They eventually went more into the legal referral group. Because why? Because the attorneys have more money to spend to be able to capture that trauma victim first before the doctor. And I'm a student of marketing, much like so many of you. So when I see stuff like this, my eyes go, whew, catches my eyes all the time. It really does. But you know what also catches my eyes is this. The billboards, car accident, 1-800-411-PAIN, 1-800-HURT-911. Now you start to see, and let me tell you something, it's not a secret that it's not just in big cities. It's in small cities, and it's across the board. Now, obviously, in the bigger cities, you're seeing one right after the other. But this is important because if you're a student of the game, doctor, if you're a student of personal injury, if you're a student of spinal disc, I hope you are, maybe will motivate you a little bit more to really know the biomechanics of what a spinal structural hyperflexion, hyperextension, acceleration, deceleration injury entails. Because the reality is this, when you understand the biomechanics of trauma and you understand how that affects that little cushion and how that affects the annular fibrosis and how that affects the nuclear pulposus, now you're on to something, because now you got to be able to communicate that to the patient, to the patient's family, to the attorney, possibly the insurance company. I dig this one. Now, if you're looking at the right and say, wait a minute, I remember that guy. That's Harry W. Brown. Well, what if I told you that Harry W. Brown in the 1980s had it going on? And when I say had it going on, he had these crazy commercials, and he used to come across as this great Southern gentleman. And I'll tell you, he was. I'll never forget. It was, I tell this story at the Cairo event and how I wasn't licensed at the time. So I knocked on a lot of doors trying to work. As soon as I graduated Life College, 1986, I was knocking on all these doors because I wanted to work. Well, guess what? Guess whose door I knocked on? I knocked on Harry W. Brown's, and I met a guy that was so atypical from his commercials. Would you know he was a bodybuilder? His forearms were jacked. Did you know he had a Nautilus center in one of his clinics? Do you know he loved to work out? Now, why was that appealing to me? Well, as the years progressed, many of you know that I became a bodybuilding judge. As a matter of fact, I was an NPC bodybuilding judge for many, many years. I became an IFBB judge, pro judge. My office was just full of Mr. USA and Mr. America and Mr. Universe and all the national championships and all the pro bodybuilders and the Mr. Olympias. And it was just my world, back then. But Harry W. Brown really had a vision of personal injury. And what he did, it was very interesting, was he knew he had to advertise. Little did they know that the Arrowhead Clinic would really start to boom the way it did. And it's interesting in the sense that it's still out there. He's not around, but it's still out there. So how do you like this one? This is always, if when you see this, you say, wait a minute, hold on a second. In a wreck, need a check? Where's the motivation there? Holy cow, now I see how the pendulum is swinging. So obviously, as a doctor, as a chiropractor, as a trauma specialist, you want to do what you do best, which is to position yourself as the torch carrier for the PI victim. In other words, to be able to be the doctor, always the doctor, the best doctor that you can. And don't play those, come on, listen, you know how it works here. You know that we're going to say things that could be offensive. Yeah. I'll even move myself up so I know I'm talking to you. I might say some things here on this Zoom meeting that are offensive. I know some of you are looking at this and you're nauseous. Well, guess what? I don't blame you. I don't blame you. But you'll always get the facts. We're here to give you the truth. And the reality is that this exists. Their motivation is there. The difference is, how do you swing the pendulum to be able to communicate to the patient that this is about their health? This is about their future. This is about their activities of daily living. This is about their quality of life, and that you are the best trauma specialist. Emphasis on this. Well, there's a way to do that. Let's talk more about that. Yeah, are you digging it a little bit? Do you understand the playing field? You got to know, listen, when you play a game, it's no different than the Super Bowl. Hey, either way, we were happy. We were happy with the outcome. Come on, you got to dig Joe Burrow a little bit, right? Come on. Team never won. We were rooting for them. But the LA Rams, did you not love that story? Did you see Matt Stafford from Detroit? Oh my God, it was great. Either way, it was a win. But I will tell you this, they didn't go into that game without knowing what plays the other team was going to run. And that's important because this is about ammunition. If you've got better ammunition, you're going to win this game. You got to love the simple fact that you want to talk about a great tagline Arrowhead Clinic, where it pays to get well. You want to talk about a little innuendo there? I mean, the reality is patients understand. They know that when they're involved in an automobile accident, that in essence, there may be a payday for them. And I'll tell you what, the reality is that if they suffered measurable injuries, if their quality of life has been affected, if they can no longer go back to work, if they can't lift their kids, if they can't enjoy their family, if they can't do the things that they were able to do now as a result of a causal distinction, a causal relationship between the trauma and their physical presentation, well, yes, they should be compensated. They should be compensated well. And I hope you have some great attorneys that do the right thing for the patient. You know what I'm talking about? the right thing. Because listen, at the end of the day, doctor, you're in the business of helping patients avoid opioids, epidural injections, or we often say, as you know the lingo, you want me to do it for you? I'll do it for you. I do it at the Cairo event all the time anyway. I do it at boot camp. 3 things. When you say it this way, because it's about communication. I'll even move to the top here. I'll even come up to the top here. How's that? What you do as a trauma specialist, as a disc specialist, as a spinal disc doctor, is you help patients avoid dangerous opioids, risky epidural injections, and often unnecessary back surgeries. When people ask me what I do, that's what I say. I help patients avoid dangerous medications, opioids, Vicodin, Percocet, Tramadol. I also help them avoid risky injections. Those are called epidural injections, and they're very risky for the spine. I don't talk about the CSF leaks and stuff like that, but if they ask, I will. And often, unnecessary surgeries. Now, why do we say often? Because sometimes, guess what? Your trauma victims are going to need a laminectomy, a foraminotomy, a spinal fusion, a microdiscectomy, or even worse, unfortunately, metal in their back. So we want you to speak the language. So here's an interesting thing. We live in Florida. A lot of you know that, we're based here in South Florida. Dr. Kaplan and myself, beautiful Palm Beach County, the home of the Cairo event. Weather's pretty good. I got to tell you, I'm not going to rub it in. I don't know where you are, but we also live, believe it or not, my family also lives, believe it or not, we live part-time in Buckhead, Georgia. And the reason that I mentioned that to you is because the playing field of PI in Atlanta, Georgia is different than the PI playing field in Florida or in Kentucky or in Minnesota. See, obviously, we could do a whole webinar, Zoom meeting on benefit packages. We could do that, but this is not the time and the place. But this caught my eye. How do you like this? Look, this is a rap, right? A car rap. This is an attorney right here, local, who says, hey, listen, every place I go, wherever I drive, I'm going to pick up patients. You know what I mean? I'm going to let them know, or I should say clients, right? See, my mind is always patients. It's just how it is after 36 years. And you should just be as excited as I am. And I'm as excited as I was day one. I really, really was. Anytime a new patient walks through your door, because I like to know where they came from. I really, really do. But what if I told you this? What if I told you there's actually a better way? Let me show you a little bit better way. Can we do that? Yay. Can we do that? Let me show you a better way of something that maybe catches your eye and of how to do this. In other words, how to kind of mimic what they're doing, but do it just better. Is that okay? Can we do that? Yeah. See, you can have some fun with it. All right. So here's a better way. So this is an awesome doctor. I'm going to go here. Can I go here? Yeah. This is such an awesome doctor. I'm going to hang out here for a little bit. This is such an awesome doctor. He's in Kennesaw, Georgia, and he's such a gifted, creative, phenomenal disc specialist. And since we live there part-time, I said, I got to see this live. So what I did was I actually drove to his office, and he parks us in front of his shopping center there. That's me right there. Yeah. I said, I'm telling you, I got to say, it's even better in person, really is. But you know what I heard? I got to tell you, I don't know if you're on it. I just heard that this doctor had 6 case presentations in the past 2 weeks. I was told this afternoon. And because he's so good at what he does, 5 of them said, I want you to be my doctor. And that's fantastic. And we're talking about, oh, by the way, these are not PI cases. By the way, these are disc cases. These are cash cases. These are non-surgical spinal decompression cases. And, we don't tell our doctors what to charge, but I will tell you that the average fee across the United States is probably in the ballpark of about $5,000 a case. Whoa. Did you just, wait a minute, hold on a second. Did you just say $5,000 a case? I just said that, yeah. In some cases, it's really higher, measurably higher. You see, what if I told you that there are doctors in your market right now that said, you know what, PI is good, and I always want to have a percentage of my practice as PI, but the reality is there's way more disc cases in my market, way more cases that need my level of technology, yes, technology in my clinic to be able to help these patients do exactly what we just said. Avoid dangerous opioids, risky epidural injections, and often unnecessary surgeries. So isn't it kind of cool to have a left side of your clinic and a right side of your clinic? Meaning the left side of your clinic could be personal injury. The right side of your clinic is spinal disc specialty care, non-insurance, non-dependent. This is a cash model. This is the model that we teach. If you want to learn more about it, we'll talk about some opportunities that are maybe coming up where you can piggyback off some of that stuff. I'll tell you my PI story really, really quick. So I know if I'm sitting there and I'm watching the Zoom meeting, I'm saying, okay, I'm kind of digging this. You know, this guy seems to kind of know what he's talking about. Yeah, hell yeah. After 36 years, hang out with Dr. Kaplan long enough and it'll rub off on you, if you know what I mean. Yeah, he's that good. Yeah, he's got way more in the tank. Yeah, he's got more energy than most of you, maybe all of you. Yeah, he's got it going on, and nobody's carrying this torch for chiropractors like Dr. Kaplan. So I'm just so honored and just so happy to be able to share it. I had 5 clinics, believe it or not, 5 total. But one of my clinics, believe it or not, was 100% personal injury, 100%. Now you might say to yourself, whoa, 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 how do you have a clinic that's just PI? And I'll answer the question for you because I know you're wondering right now. What if I told you that the demographic dictates and determines the type of practice that you have? Yeah, that's why when somebody says to me, they say, you know what? I don't think it's me. I think it's my area. You know what? Sometimes they're right. Sometimes they're right. So your area can dictate and determine your level of practice success. But I promise you this, if you have better tools, better ammunition, better marketing, better strategies, better protocols, better packaging, better training, and better coaching, you're going to win. Fact. That's number one. Here's number 2. My clinics were not dependent upon personal injury, meaning my clinics, in essence, were built from the inside out and the outside in. In other words, outside in, meaning attorney referrals, but inside out. Wow. Have you heard that before? That this is an above down, inside out thing? Does that even sound remotely familiar? It has been, it is, and always will be an above down, inside out thing. In other words, you chose the right profession. You got your asses kicked a couple of times. The smart ones picked themselves up. They said, no, I could do this better. I just got to get trained better. I got to apply better ammunition, better tools, better protocols, better communication, better financials, and then fall back in love with why I do this in the first place. Oh, and by the way, my income will go through the roof. My clinics were not dependent upon attorneys, and I don't want yours to be either. There's a way to do that. I'm going to show you this. Although it's cool if you want to get attorney referrals, listen, balance is the key, right? As chiropractors, this is about balance. So number 3, really, really simple. Believe it or not, I know one of the craziest things that ever happened to me, one of the craziest things was I actually got rammed. Boom. And when I got rammed, wow. You know, you got hit hard when the paramedics come up to your car and they grab your head and they brace it against the seat and they say, don't move. Well, heck, you have a concussion at that point. You can't move. But not only do you have a concussion, you're in shock. See, this is what your patients go through. Now, please understand, you don't have to be involved in an automobile accident to not sympathize, but empathize. In other words, I understand what you're going through. Sympathy, hey, you have sympathy for anyone who's feeling bad. That's what we do as doctors. We feel bad when they feel bad. But empathy is I understand, and there's a difference, and that needs to be communicated. So when I became a PI patient, an amazing thing happened. What happened was basically what we call a cascade of events happened, meaning the very top, I was no different than anyone else. Well, maybe a little bit different because in my case, I did go to the emergency room right away. So I wasn't, trust me, I wasn't thinking about an attorney at that point. If you go to the emergency room, often they'll take a full set of x-rays and they'll tell you, they'll give you a prescription and they'll say, go see, if it's not better, you need to go see your GP. Well, if that's not better, you got, you got to take these pills. We gave you a bunch of pills to calm everything down. If that doesn't work, you're going to go see an orthopedic surgeon. That doesn't work, you'll see a neurologist or a neurosurgeon, maybe a physiatrist, maybe a pain management specialist. You see, now you're on the merry-go-round. So I want you to understand what your patients are going through. Rental car? Holy cow, that's another whole issue because now that car is totally screwed. How are they going to get to your clinic in the first place? Well, in my office, I had a patient pickup van. Yes, I actually had a van that would assist the patients to get to my office. Yes, absolutely, because you got to be able to see it through their eyes. And this was pre-Uber. Holy cow, pre-Uber. Yeah, that's right. So I will tell you this, the best PI clinics, the best personal injury clinics, as I mentioned, let's see if you were paying attention. The best PI clinics are both built from within and guess what? From without. So let's talk about that a little bit more in detail and let's talk about the facts, all right? So I'll give you some facts. Number one, this is not for everybody. In other words, building a bigger PI practice is one thing, getting into PI is another thing, but doing it the best, I got to tell you, if you're not going to do it the way it needs to be done, above board, you know what I'm talking about. Come on, you know what I'm talking about, right? Be smart, do it right. Put your head on the pillow at night, sleep well, stand up for your patients, document like unbelievable, and do it the right way. Never get involved for what we call pay for play. See, I know I probably lost a few people on when I said that. It's like, I can't believe he's talking about. No, it's the reality of the business that you're in. So never, ever, mark my words. Listen, if this is a warning signal and you're involved in that, get out. Trust me, get out. But I'll tell you what, there's actually a way to do it so much better, but don't play that game. Just don't do it. Not worth it. Trust me, not worth it. So it's not for everybody, but if you're going to do it right. Do it great. Do it amazing. Do it the best. So as a chiropractor, please understand that we are in the best position. There's nobody better in terms of training, knowledge, commitment, drive, energy, focus, and attention to detail when it comes to the biomechanics of spinal trauma, to the biomechanics of disc injuries, and to the options for healthcare that you can afford your patient as a DC, doctor of chiropractic, chiropractic physician, chiropractic specialist, call it whatever you want. At the end of the day, if you're in this to win it, and I know you are, then when your patients win, you win. And when I'm talking about winning, I'm not talking about their case. I'm talking about their health. When they win, you win. And it's beautiful. So ask yourself a few questions. Now be objective. So this is kind of the introspective part of PI. In other words, where you get a chance to be brutally frank, honest, authentic, transparent, real, and ask yourself these questions. Number one, are you prepared? Are you, doctor, prepared to be a team player? Now, here's a funny thing. I talk to a lot of chiropractors. Chiropractors call me all week long. They call Dr. Kaplan. Well, he'll take their call, but if you're DCOA, you move to the front of the line. You know what I'm talking about. If you're not, then you have to go through a few filters, obviously. But that puts me in a position to take more of the calls in terms of returning the calls. And when I talk to doctors, often it's very interesting. The doctors, my ear things are like crazy. These actually are form fitted for my ears, kind of like the way that, the musicians, they actually had a mold of my ear so I can actually hear what I'm saying here. It's crazy. And they're a lot of fun. They're really good for music, but it allows me to kind of hear certain things and to be able to make this a little bit more technically better for you guys. So, it's a crazy thing. So I will tell you this, like often I'll ask a doctor, I'll say, well, real quick, like in 20 seconds, break your practice down: insurance, cash, PI. And they'll say, oh, I do a lot of PI. I'll say, great. I said, what percentage is PI? Oh, I probably 20%, 30%. And I say, and then I'll say, so you have a good team in place, right? And they'll say, no, team. They'll say, yeah, I got my CA, I got my therapist, I got my front desk. I said, no. I said, your team, your personal injury team. If they don't have what I'm about to show you, they're not doing PI the right way, the best way. So we'll talk about that. But before we talk about that, I want to tell you that if you really want to do this the best, as I mentioned before, you must randomize your care. You must, here's the secret. If you really want to know the secret, you got to ask better questions. And if you want to know what questions I ask my patients, and I actually have a mnemonic or an acronym, I don't know when you're calling, or maybe just kind of like a way to remember things. And it's really, really simple. I'm going to give it to you right now. There are 3 questions you must ask every single PI patient in your practice, every single one. And it starts with this. So basically, I call it the AAA. So in other words, these are my kind of go-to questions right out of the gate. So number 1, first question I always ask is, was there anyone else in the vehicle? Isn't that kind of fun? I use the AAA sign. So if you break down on the road, or if your car's in an automobile accident and you got to call somebody to tow, who do you call? You call AAA. Well worth it, especially if you drive a car that ends in an I, if you know what I mean. You can figure those out. I'm not saying they break down. I'm just saying that it's just good to have an insurance policy with AAA. You know what I'm talking about. So usually an Italian car, if you know what I mean. So yes, they need love too. So we always ask, was there anyone else in the vehicle with you at the time? And was there anyone else in the vehicle with you? You get it? Do you see it? See, the eyes and the mouth always work together. It's kind of like one of those ventriloquist things. But no, the reality is your eyes communicate just as much, if not more, than what you say to them. So when I talk to them, I'll ask them, so was there anyone else involved? Because if they tell me there are, I'm not happy for that. I know what you think. You say, wait, no, that's 5 more PI patients: the husband, the wife, the cousin, the brother, the sister-in-law, the kids. That's not good karma, brother. You don't want them to say that there are more. But if there are, then rest assured that hopefully you're in the best position to see them. Number 2, this is a vital question. What we always do is we always ask them, were you aware, like in other words, Mr. Jones, did you by any chance happen to know you were going to get hit before you got hit? Doc, what do you mean by that? In other words, did you hear any squeaking brakes, or did you look in your rearview mirror and know it was coming? Did you know by chance it was coming? Why is that important? Well, the reason that that's important, doctors, as you know, is because a muscle at tension, unfortunately, has the potential to be much more damaged, to be traumatized, to be avulsed, to be ripped than a muscle at rest. So if the body is at tension, and let's be frank, we're talking milliseconds here. You don't have time to think, oh, I'm going to tighten up. There's an accident coming. This is a reflex. So when they tighten up, if they know it, that needs to go in your notes, because obviously the consequences thereafter could be more, and that needs to be documented. Last but not least, we always ask our patients, did you know, or if I were to ask you, Mr. Jones, if I were to ask you, how are you feeling right before this accident? In other words, if I were to ask you 5 seconds before you were hit, how are you feeling? What would you have told me? Now, this is a vital question, because it is incumbent upon you to be able to draw a very clear, clean, distinct black and white line between their pre-existing condition and their post-trauma effects. So if they say, hey, doc, I was feeling fine, that needs to go in your notes. If they said, hey, you know what, my back was always a little bit sore, that needs to go in your notes. If you say, you know what, I get headaches. Now periodically I get them once. I get headaches. Really, Mr. Jones, how often do you get a headache? Well, I probably get them about once a month. And now since the accident, how has that affected you? I've had a headache since this accident. See, you'll get answers like that. So what you need to do is you got to be able to draw a line and to be able to say, this is how it was before. See, one of the biggest mistakes that chiropractors make is often they will try to camouflage or hide prior trauma. That's a mistake. So if a patient did have an automobile accident before, that needs to be in the notes. If they were treated for a certain period of time, that needs to be in the notes. And I'll tell you something, where is it easier? Where does it actually easier? It's easier if it's already your existing patient. Because if it's already your existing patient, you kind of know where they were before and where they were after. So it does make life a little bit easier, but I want you to understand and feel that you must ask the better questions. And this is SOP, SOP, as you know, stands for Standard Operating Procedure. And Standard Operating Procedure in our clinic. So number 3, are you prepared to understand that your communication must improve? Listen, if you can't speak the language, then how do you expect them to understand? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm going to say some things that are probably going to lose a few viewers now. It's okay. It's not personal. It's only business. And Dr. Kaplan and myself have a responsibility to make sure that you're running a smarter business. So I want you to be very delicate with the word, the S word. What's the S word? Subluxation. The reason is obvious. I could do another whole webinar, and I'm not going to do that here today, but I want you to be able to mention it if it's appropriate, document it if it's appropriate, but put it in the place. You get it? Put it in the place where it needs to be, because at the end of the day, if I'm an attorney and if I'm an insurance company and if I'm a patient, I want to know worst. I want to know worst first. What's the worst thing that happened to me from this accident? And I will tell you emphatically, doctors, that if you understand the nature of a spinal disc injury, then you are so far ahead. You are so far ahead of the curve. So I want you to work on that, and I want you to position your notes the right way. Now, as a result of what I just said, I wish I had like one of those pulse meters so I can actually watch, because some of the people just got offended when I said that. And the rest of you said, no kidding. I was going to say something else, but unedited, unscripted, uncensored is real, but I'm not using that word tonight. I'll use that on the next slide. The reality is this. The reality is that if you could communicate better, you're going to win this game much quicker. So this is almost, I don't even almost have to say this, but I'm going to say it. If you're in it just for this, then trust me when I tell you there's other ways to make this. There are, even more than personal injury. Yes, even more. In other words, where you don't have to deal with insurance companies, you don't have to deal with attorneys. You just got to deal with your patient. And that's where it always should be. You should be in present time consciousness. You should be focused on your patient. But the reality is that disc problems are not going away. Herniated discs, bulging discs, degenerative discs. And who are they going to call? Not Ghostbusters. They're calling you if you are positioned as a disc specialist, as a Disc Centers of America doctor. Do you know that the Disc Centers of America doctors we have right now, if you do a Google search, we're 13 pages deep into Google. If you do searches for MRIs and for avoiding surgery and for believe it or not, even for spinal decompression and sciatica. I mean, when you do put in those words, we go 13 pages deep. Yeah. We're not 13 pages deep into subluxation. Don't get me wrong. We're always true to what we do. We just got to communicate it a little bit better. See, once the patient is face-to-face with you, one-to-one, eye-to-eye, heart-to-heart, then you could tell them the chiropractic story the way you want to tell it. But don't let them judge you before they meet you. Don't let them bias you to say, hey, listen, I love chiropractors. I've been to a chiropractor a few times. It's great. I had some back pain, went away in a couple of visits, but I was just involved in an automobile accident. They sent me for an MRI. They told me I need surgery. That's what you're dealing with. That's no longer in their mind the chiropractic case. It could be a case for non-surgical spinal decompression if you're in the decompression business. We'll talk about that and you run that type of practice. And as I mentioned, that last but not least, if you think that there's anybody better at taking care of these patients than you, then you need to up your game. The reality is that chiropractors are the best positioned, non-surgical, non-invasive trauma specialists in the world, provided that they are knowledgeable and trained in how to handle a PI case, how to handle a disc case, how to handle a neuropathy case. How many visits does it take? What ancillary therapies do you need? What do they do when they go home? What are other things they could do to help speed up the care? Do they need electroanalgesia? Do they need laser? Do they need class 3, class 4? Should they be belted? How long should they wear the belt? What are other things they could do to get educated? These are the things we teach. Hopefully you get an opportunity to attend something in the future. We'll talk about it here. We don't have that much time left, but maybe a little time left. And so let's just go right into basically how this rolls. Really, really simple and really, really easy. Number one, everything starts with you. If you understand that the team approach is chiropractic first as the quarterback of the care, the quarterback, so you thus can direct what happens next. Now, normally in a trauma case, what happens next is after you evaluate the patient, after you do the full intake, after you assess the patient in a day 1, day 2, then what happens is at that point, most of the time, you're going to order an MRI study. Now, why does Dr. Kaplan and myself and all our disc centers of American doctors love MRIs? Well, let me count the ways, but I think it's pretty obvious in the simple sense that when you order an MRI on a patient, you're helping to diagnose the patient on another level. Why? Because of the technology. Why? Because of what an MRI shows versus other types of diagnostic tests. Why? Because you automatically have a built-in medical second opinion from the medical radiologist, and now the team starts to come together. Number 3, as a result of what the MRI showed, is it a 3 millimeter herniation? Is it a 5 millimeter herniation? Is it a 7 millimeter herniation? Are there multiple discs involved? Are there complicating factors? Is there something in the medical history that warrants your level of care to be here, not here? Well, that needs to be documented. So often what we do is at that point, we will set up an orthopedic surgical eval or a neurosurgical eval. Now, these are, what's the key word? You got it, eval. It's an eval. In other words, short for evaluation, to dictate and determine if they are a candidate for surgery. We use that word in our office more times than I don't want to say that we breathe, but I'm just going to tell you that the word candidate for surgery is something that attorneys need to know, companies need to know, patients need to know, and you need to know, but you're not a surgeon and neither am I. So if we're going to get a surgical opinion, then make sure that it's coming from somebody who is a specialist in that area. That's vital, that's key, that's important. The 2 most important words in personal injury are clinical correlation. In other words, if you're on an island by yourself, then trust me, you're alone. Trust me, it's not the right business for you. There's so many other things as a chiropractor you can do. But if you understand how to clinically correlate, if you understand how to connect the dots, if you understand how to communicate, if you understand how to make your documentation just a package that when your counsel gets it, when the attorney gets it, they go, why would I send my patients anywhere else? Because you're quarterbacking this whole thing. You're objective, you're frank, you're honest. If I'm an attorney, why would I cut your bill? Now, listen, there's always a time and a place. I get it. But if you want to leverage yourself to the point where you're in control, then it starts with communication, documentation, team approach. And this is, in essence, if you want to talk lingo and language, I told you I would give you some language, which we already did on the AAA, but I want to give you a little bit more because this is important. This is vital. You're talking about the health and welfare of your patients. And in our world, the world could stop. Our world is their health, their improvement. So they know that nobody cares about them more. Nobody will care about them more than us. And our patients know that. I want your patients to feel the same way about you. So this is how we talk about PI, the lingo, the language that we, or in other words, the flow per se. Can we talk about the flow, right? So basically what happens is this. When a PI patient comes to our office, now this is applicable with any patient. Imagine, wait a minute, are you just VIPing the PI patients? No. We VIP all our patients. Our staff will come and they'll sit with them. They'll help them fill out the paperwork. They'll ask them if they want a cup of coffee, cup of tea, cup of hot chocolate. They'll literally hold their hand. They really will. We connect with them in a way that patients have never been connected with before at any other clinic. They're so wowed by that effect. The team is so behind it. And everybody on our team is singing the same song. And that is, we are all about our patients forever and a day. We are in the position that we are as trauma specialists, disc specialists, spinal structural specialists, acceleration, deceleration, spinal specialists, hyperflexion, hyperextension, injury specialists. Yeah, all of the above. We sit with them. And when we meet them, we always say this. When I walk into the room, these are the exact words that come out of my mouth. And what I say to them, Mr. Jones, I'm so sorry that you had an accident. But I got to tell you, I'm really thankful you walked away. And when I say that, the patient usually does this. They agree. They understand. Because that's the truth. Because you and I know, doctors, that's just not always the way it is. It's just the reality of trauma. In an instant, it can happen. In an instant. And that's it. And it's over. So when they can walk away, we should look to the heavens and look to the stars, as I know they do, and just be thankful. Be so thankful we have the opportunity here. So let's talk a little bit more about it. So I always say that. They know it's from my heart. I always acknowledge the referral source. I do. And I ask, especially if it's an attorney, and I ask them, I'll ask them this. I'll say, do you know why? Do you know why, by the way? Do you know why they referred you to my office? And you'll get some interesting answers there. But I'm not really even looking for an answer. The reason why is because I'm going to tell them the answer. And the answer that I tell them is this. They actually, Attorney Smith actually referred you here because really, for really two reasons. Number one, obviously, they want you to get better. They want you to get better. And number two, they know that as your doctor, I am thorough and I always, always, always put my patients first. And then I'll say to them, does that make sense? Because I'm not going further until I get affirmation, until I get a yes. If I get a yes, then at that point, now I can move on. And I'll say, does that make sense? And they always say yes. So I always tell the new PI patient that, it's very interesting. I'm really fortunate. I've been a doctor for 36 years. You can, however long you've been. I've been a doctor for 36 years. I'm really so fortunate that I have so many patients that refer their friends, family, coworkers, neighbors, significant others, believe it or not just for automobile accidents, but for so many other things here. And it's really been a blessing to be a doctor for all those years. But I want to ask you a silly question. Do you have any idea what the D in doctor actually stands for? And very few ever get that. The D in doctor, and I'm asking you doctors too, the D in doctor actually stands for detective. Now, why is that important? Because as you know, as a personal injury trauma specialist and a disc doctor, notice how we always put those together, that you have to uncover, you got to look where no one else is looking. You got to ask questions nobody else is asking. And you got to guide that patient in a way that they haven't been guided before. You have to be more. You have to be better. And the way you get better is by immersing yourself with other chiropractors like we are right here, right now. Yeah, that's right. You're doing it right now. In other words, you're learning how to be a better doctor. Well, guess what? I never stopped. I'm still learning myself, as is Dr. Kaplan. The difference is we have 80 years between us. I know that sounds like, you say, wait, this guy, they don't really seem that old. Well, you know, chiropractic keeps you young. It really does. Best healthcare for immunity. Oh, should we talk about that? Maybe on another webinar, Zoom meeting. But this is about being a better detective, and they get that. So when we ask patients, did you know that you were going to get hit? How were you feeling right before the accident? You know, were you aware? You know, were you aware of the trauma? You know, little things like that. So with regard to examinations, X-rays, we do whatever necessary. Don't just have a standard, just run all these X-rays and just, you know, don't pawn this off. Be very specific. If you do flexion extension films and you feel that's warranted, do it. If you need obliques and you want to check out that Scotty dog, check out that pars articularis, you want to see if there's any interruption, if you're looking for any radiolucencies on that X-ray, this is where your superpower comes out as a chiropractor, because no one will do it better if you're trained the right way. So there's one thing that I actually, believe it or not, there's one thing, I think you kind of know where I'm going with this. I'm going to go over here so I can look right at you. There is one thing we never do on the first visit. And I know you're jonesing to do it, and I know you want to do it, and I know many of you do it, but it's just something that I don't do. And hopefully you take heed in it. And it's something that I believe should be followed. And one thing that we never do is on the first visit, I never give an adjustment. I just don't. And I don't care if you're Gonstead, I don't care if you're Thompson, I don't care if you're Activator, I don't care if you're Grostic, I don't care if you're Diversified. You know them all. Come on, you can name as many as me. There is one exception though. I don't even have a slide for it. There's one exception. I think you know. I'll give you a hint. What if I told you it was the only club in chiropractic college that I was a member of? Because I saw the future. Well, sort of, but I just wanted something in my bag of tricks to be able to deal with an acute patient who was antalgic. When you see antalgia, what are you thinking? Disc, right? The only variance to this is one technique. It's called SOT. We're going to talk more about it this year at some of our trainings. We actually have a packet we're giving away on this because I'm such a believer in it. And there's so many other things you can do while they're being blocked. Oh, if you're curious, it's category 3, by the way. And you know, many of you use it. If you don't use it, you really should learn it. It's probably the greatest technique for trauma victims in the beginning and potentially long-term. If you're in the disc business, standard operating procedure in your packages. Did you say packages? Wait a minute. What are you talking about packages? Well, if you're in the disc business and you're in the spinal decompression business, then we present a package. So it's not an a la carte, I'll choose one from column A, column B. It's a package of treatment. It could include decompression, often does. It could include laser. It could include belting. It could include therapy. It could include SOT. It could include nutrition. I can go on and on and on. But when you give a patient a financial, it should be on one piece of paper. And by the way, for all our DCOA doctors, new financials this year. I can't wait to see you guys at boot camp. Wait till you see all the new financials. It's really, really cool. So my questions to you are simple, and that is this. Do you understand the ligamentous nature of a personal injury case? Do you understand ligamentum flavum, the alar ligaments? Do you understand the nature of a lateral impact? A lateral impact is worse than a front to back or back to front. That's important. Understanding and being a good detective, because once the ligaments get ripped, now that's a different type of case. That's a different type of rehab. That's a different type of prescription for care. Did you catch that? Notice I didn't say recommendation for care. I said prescription for care. Now you might say, whoa, whoa, whoa. I've been using the word recommendation. Well, it's okay. It's all right. It's a chiropractic word. But recommendation to me sounds kind of salesy. I don't like to be sold. I mean, I'm being very frank with you that if I'm the patient, don't sell me on anything. Just tell me what I need. Tell me how long it's going to take. Tell me what makes you special. Often I'll see it when I walk in your office. Wow. And show me what it's going to cost. I love that. Oh my God. That's where your headspace should be at, because that's what makes you a better doctor. We teach you how to do that. Inflammation is something you need to know right away, because often, as I mentioned, if you were like me, after the trauma, you're going to be dealing with inflammation. You're going to be dealing with a possible shock. You could be in shock. The patient could be in shock. You may even be dealing with a concussion. And if you're not, and you want to take notes on this stuff, man, I know you've been taking notes all the way. And I'm just so thankful I got a chance to redo this guy for you, because I just felt miserable when I saw 500 people register and then it tapped out do you know my children were actually on that? They were watching it and they said, "Hey Dad, did you know that it was at 100?" I said, "Oh no, what happened to the other 400? They got locked out." So hopefully you're on it, so you didn't get locked out. So one of the most important things you can do is to balance test your patients after trauma and document it along the way. Now, there's a software that we use. If you're DCOA, if you're Descendants of America doctor, you know what it is. And in case you forgot, if you send me an email, I'll remind you of what it is, because it's so good and it's so simple and it's so inexpensive, but it helps assess the balance of the patient. And that's standard operating procedure for trauma. And it should be for neuropathy. And yes, even for disc cases as well. Last but not least, the disc is where it's at. Basically, we say, and it's very funny, because I think one of the coolest things about being a chiropractor is we have all these like little kind of like sayings and these little almost like inside jokes. Can we say like inside jokes, acronyms and stuff like that? And I was just before this actually started, I was given tremendous news. I mean, it's just, I just got the phone call that every parent wants to get. And that is that, I don't know if you know this, but we have two sons. One's in chiropractic school. Yeah, we talked about that. He's a year and a half in. Did you know he just passed his boards? Wow, how cool is that, right? Come on. We got another call an hour before this started from our other son. Where's he? Well, he's in dental school. And guess what happened? Same thing. He just passed his board. So it's such an exciting time. And I told him, I said, listen, the greatest title you will ever have in your life is the DR. So we always say that so it's kind of a special time in our life. And you might say, well, gee, that's kind of cool that both your sons are doctors. Yeah, that's cool. But they're both in the cash model business. Yeah, isn't that, in other words, as a spinal decompression doctor, you're in the cash disc business. As a dentist, you're in the implant, crowns, as you know, cosmetic. That's a cash business too. You got to love a cash business. Why is a cash business the king? Simple. You're not a dependent. If you're in PI, you are a dependent. But if you're going to do PI, do it right, do it well, do it the best. DISC stands for, we always say, DISC stands for that decompression is specialized chiropractic. Now we don't sell tables. We're not in the table business. I hope you have a table. If you don't know what table to get, you can contact us and I'll tell you all the medical research on all the tables. We teach that on all the tables, not table specific, but there are certain tables that are obviously better than others that have way more science. And those are the tables you should be using. But decompression is specialized chiropractic. It really, really is. And if you're curious and you say, gee, you know what? I'm digging this, man. I wish this thing would go on like all night. And so what I would tell you is this, that the most important aspect of a PI case, as I mentioned, is the health of the spinal disc. The AMA guides the assessment of permanent impairment when you're assessing a disability rating to the body as a whole based upon the AMA guides. As you know, if you understand the disc, then you understand how to quantify and qualify the ratings better. So if I'm an attorney, I want you so well trained in disc. I want my chiropractor to be the disc guy. Yeah, the disc guy. And it's not a coincidence that Dr. Jason Kaplan, who happens to be Dr. Kaplan's son, has a boat. Guess what the name of the boat is? The disc guy. And yeah, he's got 4 tables. Yeah, he's putting up numbers like there's no tomorrow. But yes, what I love about him and his wife, Stephanie, is his commitment to excellence. And that did you know that 30% of his practice right now is post-surgical? Wow. In other words, people that have already had a surgical procedure, where do they go? They're going to see him because he's that good. Yeah. So I wanted to do something special for you guys because that's why, if you notice, one of the things that I'll get texts, I'll get emails, I'll get calls, I'm kind of humbled when somebody says this, but they'll say, man, they say, you guys, Dr. Kaplan and you're constantly like loving on your, like this Centers of America doctors. And you're right, we are. Why? Because they're the best at what they do. Why? Because they invested in themselves. Why? Because they went to specific trainings that you did. Why? Because they're committed to excellence and they're so humble. They're so thankful. They're so appreciative. So how could we not thank them even more? So if you are part of our family of This Centers of America, I got a really cool thing I want to share with you. Okay. Can I show it to you? You better say yes. Yeah. All right. Check it out. This was actually sent to me from one of our other This Centers of America doctors, but not just any DCOA doctor. He's special. He's got, believe it or not, he practices kind of like in a small town. He really does. He's in Illinois. And he sent me this letter because if there's anybody who's, oh my gosh, has the ability to look back, to look forward and appreciates where he is. This doctor's father was a chiropractor. This doctor's mother was a chiropractor. This doctor's brother is a chiropractor. This doctor's uncle is a chiropractor. You think chiropractor's in his family? This is an email he sent me this week. I'll read it to you. You've probably already read it, but basically I'll read it to you super quick and then I'll tell you what it's about. I came across this file since we have been out of insurance for almost 5 years. I completely forgot about it. Before any deposition or expert testimony in court, I would send these questions to the patient's attorney. They absolutely loved me for it. Wait a minute, what are we talking about? Maybe he sent me something in addition to that? Heck yeah. Otherwise, the opposing attorney would ask questions like, are you allowed to prescribe medications or perform surgery? Silly questions for us, but not silly for a jury, or not silly for people that just don't really know what a chiropractor does. Blah, blah, blah. They shoot you out of the saddle, and this way you head them off in the past. Asked and answered. They referred me so many patients. They referred me to so many other attorneys. I've testified as expert witness in 7 different states. It was extremely lucrative. It's in Word format. It can be easily changed to fit the doctor in their state. Great practice. People just want their shit as part of our building our doctors. PI, workers' comp practices I've seen in your emails. Thank you. Much love. Always, always from Rich. If you're a This Centers of America doctor, you know who we're talking about. So what did he do? What did he really do? He sent me this crazy thing. He sent me a letter with 30 questions on it. It's a Word document. And it, like, if you can answer any of these 30 questions, you're going to be like, kryptonite couldn't hurt you. Now, in case you don't know, that was the only thing that could hurt Superman. But now you know what a real nerd I really am. But it'll just make you bigger. It'll make you better. It'll strong. It's our gift to you. I'm happy to send it to you. He sent it to me this week. Talk about paying it forward. Talk about making sure that all boats All boats rise when the tide gets higher, correct? All boats rise. So it's an excellent bonus. Never been done before. But you know what else has never been done before? I said, well, Joe, whoa, whoa, whoa. If he's giving you something that good and giving that to us to give to you, we got to do something crazy good for you guys. We are. Let me show you something very interesting. Never been done before. I guess you can call this a lot of things. I guess you can call it, can I say these words? Can I say the words game over? Can I say that? I guess I just did. Well, what we're talking about here is a letter. And this is something that was put together for our DIS Centers of America doctors who are DIS specialists, that I guarantee, not too many things in life that I can guarantee, but I will guarantee if you send this letter out, your phone's going to start to ring. And it could continue to ring and ring and ring and ring and ring. Why? Well, the verbiage, if you haven't figured it out now, we're on the word, we're on the inflection, we're on the intonation, we're on the way to make communication so simple, so easy, so user-friendly for anybody outside of your practice, for every attorney, for every patient, for every referral source, to understand who you are, what you do, and where you could be found. We call that the 3 W's. So this letter is predicated on things that you doctors have already done. Meaning, if you're a DIS Centers of America doctor, you got the best website on the planet. But more than just the website, there's a specific video that's on there that is specific to why you are a spinal disc specialist. And then there's a call to action in here. And the best part is if you love the letter, we'll personalize it for you. So if you send me an email, I did not make a slide with my personal email on it because I just didn't want to, I know what would happen. I would have a minimum of 500 emails tomorrow. And I just hate saying no, but I always say no if you're not part of the family. It's just how it is. If you are part of the family, we love to say yes, and we will send this to you. Not only will we send it to you, we'll make it for you. So when you see at the top, name, address, phone number, we'll personalize this whole letter for you. It's our gift to you. And you will love it. So the question is this, the question is, all right, so you're here and you're saying, well, gee, you know what, this is cool. I'm loving it. I want to learn more. I've already learned some cool things here today. I learned how to communicate better. I learned how to be able to ask better questions. I learned the importance of the MRI. I learned that I don't necessarily have to be dependent on personal injury. I understand that I can learn more about disc. Maybe I should learn more about spinal decompression. Where do I learn that? Where does it begin? Well, it begins right here and it begins right now. Where it begins is that there's actually 2 trainings available. And I'll share with you exactly super quick what they are. And that is this. In other words, the first training is a training that was created by Dr. Kaplan 10 years ago. And you might say, gee, where have I been for all those 10 years? Well, don't feel bad, because in essence, this is really in some ways the best kept secret in chiropractic. This is the 10-year anniversary of the National Spinal Decompression Certification Program. It's held 1 time per year. It's a 12-hour CEU program. And if you were fortunate enough to attend in the past, you understand, especially the last one, it's the only sold out CEU program that's taught in our profession 2 years in a row. It will be sold out again, and it is guaranteed to be sold out in 2022. It'll be taught at the end of the year. So I know you're kind of bummed in the sense that you said, whoa, I got to wait for that long. Yes and no, or no and yes. So there is actually another opportunity to learn even earlier. But if I'm you, what I'm doing is I'm going to mark it down. Now, if you're a DIS Centers of America doctor, as you know, that you were sent an email this week, and the title of the email, you know what it said? It said, save the date. Save the date. So you know the date. It is in November. You know what the date is. Mark it down on your calendar. And yes, you can bring staff. But if you're DCOA, of course, as you know, you'll be sent an early registration to be able to secure your seats right away. And I mean, this is as good as it gets in our profession. This is the highest rated course. And this year is kind of special, or it really is special in the sense that it's the 10-year anniversary. Last year, we brought one of the top orthopedic surgeons in the country, the orthopedic surgeon for the Philadelphia Eagles. We brought one of the top medical neuroradiologists in the country. We brought one of the best pain management specialists in the country. This is not just about chiropractors teaching other chiropractors. Nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, if we're going to bring chiropractors, why don't you just bring the president of the outgoing president of the National Board of Chiropractic Examiners? Oh, we did that. Yeah, we did that too. Yeah, he was there teaching risk management. And this year, actually, he taught it for an hour and it was so highly received. He's actually going to make it a 2-hour program this year as part of the 12 hours. And that's important for CEUs in certain states. So, I mean, it is, if I showed you the feedback we got from it, I think I'm out of like superlatives. I don't even think I can actually even tell you what they said, but it's pretty emotional, but it's pretty powerful. Hey, listen, we're in the relationship business. If you haven't figured this out, Dr. Kaplan and myself teach doctors how to create better relationships and build a better mousetrap, build a better business, build a better practice, and to be able to enjoy all the riches and the spoils and the benefits of running a 5-star practice that wows patients the moment they walk in and wows them during the whole process. So if you want to learn about the business and the marketing of spinal disc, my favorite training is actually this training. It's called the ChiroVent. Now, if you didn't notice, the website is down here at the bottom. It's been down here the whole time. So for those who are ingenious enough to say, wait a minute, I'm not waiting. Let me just go there and see if there's any seats left. Congratulations, because that's something I would have done. I'm not waiting. I'm going to just try to move to the front of the line because that's just what we do, right? So, and that's what you deserve. You deserve to be treated better. You deserve to be treated like a doctor. You deserve. Did you ever know? I don't know if you noticed something that if you look at any of our trainings, did you ever notice how the doctors are dressed? Did you ever notice that they're all tricked out in these like gorgeous suits and they just look like, and their staff is just like perfect and gorgeous and their teams are just amazing. And we may be the only, as a matter of fact, I think we are the only doctors ever in the history to actually bring in a custom suit clothier for the past 3 years at our trainings. In other words, if you want a custom suit, there's a guy there. Our doctors look the part, they act the part, they speak the part. We train them. It all starts at the ChiroVent. So here's my suggestion. Really simple. If you know anything about spinal disc, I don't know if you've ever heard this name. His name is Dr. Norman Shealy. Dr. Norman Shealy is considered, believe it or not, the godfather of spinal decompression. He's 90 years old. It's amazing. And, these are his exact words. If you saw the videotape of him in his thank you speech to Disc Centers of America, to Dr. Kaplan. And I'm so humbled. I was able to be the, I guess, I don't know, what do you call the moderator of those interviews. Oh my gosh, it was just, my heart was beating so fast. I was so excited. But would you believe I had 5 different cameras set up because I knew we're making history right now. I had 5 different cameras working just in case one went down, kind of like a Zoom meeting. It's an inside joke for all of you. You know what I'm talking. It has technology, but when it came to Dr. Shealy, we could not fool around. We did a series of interviews with him, and he basically passed the torch to our DCOA doctors. He's the most published physician ever in the history of non-surgical spinal disc and disc decompression, over 500 published papers. And we teach his work, by the way. We teach his science, and we teach his medical studies. So, I'm curious. I'm always saying to myself, well, gee, if I go to one of these events, who may I, what are the type of doctors that go to these trainings? How did they start? Did everybody start the same way? And the answer to your question is no, they didn't start the same way. As a matter of fact, they all started different, and they all come from different parts of the country. I'll give you an example. The doctor at the top, started with 2 spinal decompression tables in a practice that he bought that were covered in sheets. So in other words, he bought the practice, but didn't know what was really under the sheets. I love that story. 2 became 3, 3 became 4, 4 became 5. Before you know it, he's up to 12. Great doctor in Los Angeles, California, the great Dr. Brigitte Rosenberg, the creator of the best topical analgesic in the world. Yeah, you know I'm plugging it because I believe in it, because it's in every care package and our doctors love it. It's called Mineralgia. Heck yeah, her and her husband, who happens to be a dentist, by the way, who's fantastic. She's got 2 clinics. She's building a 5,000 square foot state-of-the-art clinic in Los Angeles. She is got it going on. I could talk. I could do a whole webinar all about a Zoom meeting, all about these people. The most amazing doctors, really. Dr. Carrie Gerges, 11 spinal decompression tables, started with none. Amazing doctor. 6 lasers, big into laser. Dr. Brian Hesser, not too many chiros on the planet have a 30,000 square foot clinic. These are family members, obviously. These are not just random people that came to a seminar. These are people that came to a seminar, and guess what happened? They came to a second seminar and a third seminar and a fourth seminar because they were so hungry to learn. They were so hungry to be bigger, better, more. Dr. Roger Wong, who's killing it in Cleveland, Ohio. Dr. Troy Dreiling, who we're going to see this weekend. Yes. So excited to see you, brother. Nobody wears the brand better. I shouldn't say nobody wears the brand. We got some great people that do crazy stuff with the brand. Like you saw that tricked out like Van Rat, but I'm going to tell you, Troy Dreiling, just right up there. I mean, he's a visionary. Wendy Toohey in Franklin, Tennessee. She's just, what can I say? She's got it going on. She understands how this works. And she's so good. She's such a great doctor. Dr. Daryl Swolensky in Nevada, 6 spinal decompression tables. He also has 6 neuro devices. Wow. Where do you learn about that? Well, you learn about that at the Chiro event. So let's talk about a little bit about the Chiro event in the sense that, what are you going to learn? Well, if you want to talk about decompression, we're going to show you example after example after example. You want to talk about disc? You want to talk about PI? You want to talk about laser? You want to talk about social media? You want to talk about Instagram, Facebook? We're going to show you examples of all that. It's going to cost you $249 to walk through the door with a reserved seat. You can only attend if you have a reserved seat. And the reason is because it's a private club. So there's a gate, there's security. If you're on the list, you're in. If you're not on the list, you don't get in because the security is intense. And it should be because it's a private club. It's not a hotel. It's not a convention center. If you want to know where it's done, it's real simple. Just go to the website and you'll learn where we have it. Jupiter, Florida. The date, March 26th, 5-star location. Gourmet lunch, and you'll learn. I guarantee you will learn how to be a better doctor. And I've only said this once before when I was doing this the first time about an hour ago. and then when our Zoom thing crashed and I had to restart it and do it. And so it's only fair that I say it again, right? Should I say it again? Heck yeah. It'll cost you $249. I'll guarantee, and Dr. Kaplan will guarantee, it'll be the best $249 you've ever spent. If you're not 1,000% blown away, we'll give you your money back. That's called the 100% money back guarantee. Right then, right there on the spot. I mean, not that you need more incentive. I don't think you do, but the reality is that we'll guarantee it. It's that simple. It's the entrepreneurial chiropractic training of the year. If you're an entrepreneurial doctor, in other words, you understand that chiropractic is a business, and you understand that you, doctor, could run your business better than you're running it right now. You could be smarter, you could be sharper, you could be more efficient, you could be a better communicator, you could deliver a better outcome, and you can fall back in love why you got in this game in the first place. That you love being a doctor of chiropractic. You love the relationships with your patients. And you love all the riches, all the spoils, all the benefits. You want to live in the big house, on the big block. You want to drive the big cars. You want to take the big vacations. Heck, we all do, right? The difference is our doctors do. And that is called quality of life. And that is, in essence, the secret sauce. We openly, willingly, and givingly share this information in one day. Now, if you're curious and you're saying, wait a minute, I love it, I'm into it, I'm digging it, but I got a question. And this is the question that I would have. Silly me, but I'm a skeptic. When you grow up in Brooklyn, New York, it's just how it is. It's in our genetic code. I can't help it. The question I would have is this. This is incredible. If I come, and I definitely want to come, do I have to sign anything? And the answer is emphatically no. There are no contracts. There is no obligation. There is zero pressure. You come, you learn, you grow, and then you be, you do, you have, and you become. And guess what? If you love it, and you will, then you're going to figure out a way to get back in touch with us. You're going to figure out a way to say, wait a minute, if they can do that in one day, OMG, oh my gosh, imagine what they can do if it's 2 days or 3 days or 4 days. So no pressure, no obligation. I got to tell you that it's the most fun thing that I've ever been a part of. And I kind of explain it a little. I'm not going to do it here right now, but I kind of explain why when you come to the Chiro event, if you're fortunate enough to get a seat. And the reason that I say that is if you're fortunate enough to get a seat is, I know what you're thinking. You say, wait a minute. Do you do this multiple times? How many seats are there? These are the questions that I have. I mean, listen, I'm sitting there with you. I'm you right now. Maybe you're drinking a beer. I don't know. I don't drink beer. I don't know. I can get a 6-pack. It could stay in my refrigerator all year long. I don't know. If I got chicken wings, maybe the beers would go away. Can you explain to me what this White Claw is? I see it's kind of popular. It seems to be in a lot of places, but that's for a different Zoom meeting. You could tell me about it at another time. What I'll tell you is this. What I will tell you, it is by far, after 36 years as a chiropractor, it is the training that our profession always wanted and always deserved, but unfortunately just never had access to. Well, if you're fortunate enough to have access to it, I guarantee you'll love it. Go to the website, www.thechiroevent.com, and you're going to notice something. So you're going to notice this. So check it out. I know you're kind of curious. If you went there, say, wait a minute, aren't they having one this weekend? The answer is yes. It's completely sold out. That's why when I said, did you hear? I don't know if you caught that. I can't wait to see you, Dr. Dreiling, this weekend. Well, he's coming in this weekend, but it's completely closed and sold out. It's been sold out for a long time, actually. And what happened was, as soon as it sold out, we added seats for March 26th. So there was a handful of seats left. And we said, let's just do this Zoom meeting. And I just have a feeling in my heart of hearts that there's a good probability that all the seats for March 26th are already gone. I just know it. When you have 500 people register for a Zoom meeting, crazy, right? And then you have 100 people show up and the other 400 are closed out. And then you make a videotape and you send it to them and everyone else. I think you kind of know how it works, right? Those seats are, boom, they're gone. So what we did is this, just so you know, I don't even have a slide for it. We added one additional date, one more date. It's not for another 2 more months, but better that you have a seat than not having a seat. Okay. But that's just the nature of it. But try to grab the seat. Now I'll share a little secret with you. It's kind of crazy. I didn't mention this before. I don't know. I don't think I did, but remember that slide I showed before and you had, all those superstar doctors. Well, guess what? We got a lot of other superstar doctors in our family. I could have done slide after slide after slide after slide with their uniqueness and why they are superstars. And it's not just about this, although they make a lot of it. But what if I told you that I showed you a picture of 8 doctors, right? What if I told you that 3 of those doctors, strictly coincidental, not planned at all, they come to learn just like you. 3 of those doctors are going to be sitting in the room with you on Saturday, March 26th. Kind of cool, right? That was just moon and the stars. Pretty wild. I'm so excited to see. That's going to be like the craziest. The day before the boot camp is going to be just nuts. Just nuts. I mean, just listen, life is about momentum. And your momentum is either going this way, or if it's our universe, our Descendants of American Doctors, it's like this with like on steroids, turbocharged. So cool. So as I mentioned to you before, why is it difficult to sometimes grab a seat? I'll tell you why, really simple. Here's the reason why. Because if you pick up the issue, and I'm not talking 2 years ago, I'm talking this issue. And I'm talking the month before and the month before and the month before. You go back and look. We take out a full page ad in the chiropractic economics. Now, for the first time ever, we actually put a QR code. I don't know if this QR code actually works on a Zoom meeting, but you could try it. How cool would that be? That would be like the first QR code, right? Where you take the phone and it takes you right in. Full page ad there. So obviously, often, as you know, many doctors never have the opportunity to meet us, speak to us on the phone. They just grab the seat. They just go and they just see this and they just scoop up the seat and it's gone and then it's closed. But what also happens is this. If you pick up the Dynamic Chiropractic this month, you're going to see this ad, and this is another full page ad. And this is a very cool article that we wrote talking about disc doctors that are not dependent upon personal injury. That in essence, that are closing $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 cases per or more per day. These are disc cases. They're having amazing days, weeks, months. It's not about the money, but the money's a great reward for ultimate and perfect service. Perfect service. Amazing service. Under-promised, over-delivered. Wow service. That's what we teach. So there are doctors who saw this and said, I got to learn more about this. And then they went to the American Chiropractor, which you can right now. And you're going to see this. And you're going to see this ad in there. So doctors come from all over the world for this. And it is that good. But the seats sell out super quick. And as I mentioned, there's a very limited amount if they're not already gone. So if you do get a chance to pick up that copy, what I recommend to you is this. What I do recommend to you is make sure that you read this article, and it's called Stop the Insanity. It was written by Dr. Kaplan. He put my name, and Jason and him wrote it, and they included me. So nice of them. I probably put in maybe a little bit, but not, listen, if you could show me somebody who knows more about disc, if you could show me someone who's better prepared, if you could show me somebody who can give you the A to Z on how to win this game better than Dr. Kaplan, then my recommendation is you go find that person and do whatever you can to get in their world. Because the last time I checked, there is nobody better, nobody that understands the business of success as a chiropractor in teaching you how to win this game and not be a dependent, how to be an independent, how to take control, how to be the doctor you always dreamed about being, based upon knowledge, based upon science. I love being a chiropractor because, as you know, we have what? We have an art, we have a philosophy, and we got a science. And guess what? If you're fortunate enough to grab a seat at these trainings, you're going to learn science. So in closing, I could have shared a lot of things with you. There's a lot of things I could tell you. There's a lot of things I could show you. I'd rather do that in person. So if you want to hang out with me and you want to hang out with Dr. Kaplan, which is really cool. But what's even cooler is hanging out with the doctors that are in the same room with you, that are a mirror image of you doctors. The only difference is they're just doing it on a bigger scale. They've got a lot to share. They've got a lot to show. They've got a lot to give. Obviously, you could feel that in the Zoom meeting where we have doctors that say, hey, listen, I'm giving you stuff and I want to keep it in the family. And, we would love for you to come, because the Chiro Event is the only training we ever give that we allow non-client doctors to attend and sit in the same room with our client doctors. And if that's not a message, and I think you know what the message is, that we're not holding stuff back. We're showing you content. We're showing you tools. We're showing you examples. And then we're putting surprises in your hand. And I'm so bad at keeping surprises, but I'll hold on to this surprise for now. If you're there, you'll be pleasantly surprised because you'll walk out with some cool stuff. Our purpose is simple. It's obvious. It's easy. And that is to simply just be the absolute best doctor. I know I got in this business as a chiropractor really because, I just didn't want to have any regrets, man. I didn't want to put my head on the pillow and say, you know what, I woulda, I shoulda, I coulda. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to leave it on the field. And if you would have told me that after 36 years, I could have had this quality of life as a chiropractor, I would have told you, I would have said, pinch me. I must be dreaming. This is a fantasy. This can't be real. But I'm going to tell you it's real. And, in baseball, there's an old saying. Both our boys played a lot of baseball, so we spent a lot of time around this. It's called living the dream. And the difference is, as a chiropractor, you can define the dream. You can make the dream all that. And I'll tell you something. Did you know that in chiropractic colleges right now, did you know that, you ready for this? Enrollment is up. Yeah, enrollment is up. As insurance went down, enrollment went up, finally. Why? Because being a chiropractor is a great gig. If you know what you're doing, if you understand how to communicate, if you understand the business of disc, if you understand how to overcome an objection, if you understand how to present a package to a patient that when they come home and they show that package to their significant other, their husband, their wife, and they look at the package and they go, now I understand why you just wrote a check for $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. Now I understand. Because that doctor is different than any other doctor. And the package says that. So we teach you how to build that package. We do that at boot camp. That's a private training we do for our doctors the day before the chiro event. But if I'm you, I'm going to try to grab a seat at the chiro event. It's that simple. So as I mentioned in closing, March 26th is the date. If it's sold out, there will be one additional date added. You'll know it in the email because when you go to register, what'll happen is it'll be a sorry email. Sorry, it's closed out, but great news. We added another date. So timing is everything. Listen, in life, in business, in practice, in relationships, in sports, right? Timing is everything. And if you thought by some chance that you just happened to stumble onto this, I got news for you, doctors. It wasn't a coincidence. As we say in our business, that many are called, right? As chiropractors, many are called, but few are chosen. And I know the doctors that have been so blessed to have in our circle, our inner circle, our Disc Centers of America circle and more. These doctors got it going on and they're so much fun and I get so much and they're so just loving, giving, serving from the heart. These chiropractors are cut from a different cloth. They get it. They get it. And guess what? I got a feeling you get it too. Hopefully a little bit more after watching this. If you're fortunate enough to get a seat at the chiro event, I promise you, you'll get it. I'll even do a money back guarantee. You know it. So go to the website, www.thechiroevent.com. I'll keep my fingers crossed for you. And if you're able to grab a seat, trust me when I tell you, you'll thank us. And then guess what? We'll thank you. We'll thank you for stepping up to the plate and having the courage to be able to get out of any comfort zone you're in and to be able to say, you know what? This was a good day. And it was so much fun meeting you. And that goes both ways. That goes both ways. Remember, in life, if you give more than you receive, life just has a way of just working out, right? It just has a way of working out. So we hope to see you March 26th. And I apologize to anybody that got closed out on the initial Zoom meeting, but I think you kind of know we were never going to bed tonight until we, as they say in Hollywood, got it in the can for you. So you could sit back, you could watch it, you could learn, you can grow, you could think, and you can become. And if you do it right, and I know you will, not only can you enjoy a much bigger and better PI practice, but you can enjoy the practice of your dreams, not dependent on anyone or anything. I can't wait to see you. Fingers crossed. I hope to see you. On behalf of Dr. Eric Kaplan, we will see you March 26th.